Going on, y'all? Thanks for checking out the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about America. And more specifically, we're talking about religion in America. What a fascinating topic. And there's a uh, documentary series called, I believe it's called God in America. You can actually watch that. I think it's on like PBS or something like that. It's fantastic. But what I really want to show, what I really want to speak about today is this fantastic book, The Religious History of America. This is the revised version, I believe, um, by Gaustad and Schmidt. Gaustad and Schmidt, The Religious History of America. I learned so much in this book. Like, as of right now in America, we have religious freedom. That wasn't always the case. Religious freedom was something we had to struggle to achieve. Unfortunately, there was many laws and persecution. Uh, if you weren't part of the Anglican Church, for instance, and then if you weren't Protestant, if you were Catholic, as time evolved in America, um, these groups were ostracized, exiled, fined for their beliefs, banned for their beliefs. Um, and it's one of those things that are, our Constitution very much is about freedom of religion. And in order for America to stay America, we have to have a society in which you can swear on the Bible, but you can be like our second president, John Quincy Adams, and swear on a law book instead of the Bible and not be affiliated with any religious tradition. America, to be America, has to be able to keep both of those ideas in their society. One person who is an Anglican and a person who's a Baptist and a person who is a Quaker and somebody who's Catholic and somebody who is Muslim and somebody who is Hindu and someone who is Buddhist and someone who is an atheist or doesn't practice at all. That's what makes America the best country in the world. Because if you look at the history or the timeline, whatever religious group was in power, they enforced laws to keep their religious group in power and to demonize the other groups, such as I believe it was. I'm trying to think of the name. Uh, John Bunyan, who was a Baptist, um, was fined in jail because he wasn't licensed under the Church of England. You know, And these are the roots. These are the roots of those who would make it over here to the colonies, and we became the United States. That is why it's very important to understand what exactly it is that makes America the best country. We have to keep treating people with respect, regardless of their religious views. Okay? Let me say that again. We have to keep treating people with respect, regardless of their religious views. You should never ever have to ever take a test of religion to get into government. You should never have to swear on a Bible. You can swear on a law book. That's what makes America great. We don't put one religion over another. We don't make laws based on religion. Most people have this idea that we're a Christian nation. And in one sense, you can say that, but it would be more appropriate to say that um, you know, Christians, Catholics, Anglicans, um, were the first groups that came to America to colonize, right? The Church of England. You could say that. That's more accurate to say. But all these other splinter groups, like Baptists, Anabaptists, Presbyterians, all of that stuff, that came way after. But yes, the people who moved here, immigrated here, were Christian in one sense. Not everyone was. Okay, not everybody was part of the Church of England or whatever the case may be. That just simply isn't the case. Um, and the thing is that America, when we get to the the idea of freedom of religion, there has already been fights and laws being passed to ban another type of practice as inappropriate. Um, Fines just from practicing differently, for not being Protestant. If you were a Catholic, there were laws that were put in place. Um, and it's just horrible that even to our day now, you have this kind of, this Christian nationalism that's popping up. But in our reality, In God We Trust wasn't on our money until the 1950s. I Pledge Allegiance, One Nation Under God did not start until the 1950s. The problem is people don't go far enough back to think, the 50s were their parents' years, and so when they were growing up in the 70s or so, they're thinking like that was America. That's the America I knew. They didn't live in the America that, it was only the Church of England. If you weren't part of the Church of England, you were in trouble. You know, and so these ideas were fought hard, and we have to keep them. We have to fight for religious freedom. Religious freedom is not just to believe what you want. Religious freedom is also to not be forced to believe at all. You don't have to believe in a certain tradition to be American. You can be Hindu and be American. You can be Muslim and be American. You can be Buddhist and be American. You can be Catholic and be American. You can be Orthodox and be American. You can be Jewish and be American. That's what makes America the best, is that there isn't a religion that rules our government or shouldn't rule our government. Our Constitution is the law of the land, regardless of religion. And so America is based on that document, not on a religion. Laws should not be based on, well, my religion says this is wrong. That's your religion. That's not American law. That's not the Constitution. Back to the book, though. The amazing thing about this book is just how it's weaved together and shows the conflict in America. In the very beginning, when Catholics came over, I believe it was Spain, and they were very upset because kind of funny thinking about it now. They were very upset because the Native Americans were wholeheartedly ready to accept Catholicism, but they were not going to delete or replace their own religion. See, they believed in more so a syncretism, that they believed Catholicism could live and coexist with their views as well. But the Catholic Church had other things to say about that. And then you get into the Puritans who came over, right? And after the Puritans, you know, the middle colony diversity, and you have the the Maryland Catholics, and well, where do we get Maryland? It's Maryland because that was a safe haven for Catholics. That is why this book is worth its weight in gold. This is a fantastic resource. If you want to know how religion lived and breathed and morphed and shaped America, this is a fantastic resource. You can buy a used copy. I think I got this used. And man, it's just amazing. And you just see the not only the different groups and sects that existed, but you also see the infighting. You see the infighting within them and people changing their minds and stuff. And so I think it's just really important to understand that. You know, one is start reading books, man. Start reading books so that you won't get bamboozled by people and polemics and what people say. You know, in Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, he specifically stated that um, Pennsylvania was such that if a Mohammedan came, that he would have a place to preach his message in the public square. This is Benjamin Franklin saying this in the 1800s. What does that tell you? That tells you that the idea of America is not one religion, but it is all religions are allowed to express their ideas within the public square. All religions are also allowed to be criticized in the public square. No religion is safe from criticism or being offended or offense. That's what makes America great because we are able to put and tackle all these ideas in the public square and then find which one comes out on top, right? And everybody's going to have their own view of that, what religion they believe is true or correct or more amicable to society. The thing is that that is only allowed here in America, and that should always remain the case. No idea should ever be above scrutiny or criticism, because otherwise it just becomes, uh, static idea, static way of thinking about things that will never progress forward, you know. But I find a lot of people are hesitant to allow ideas to be expressed. And more, you know, people are not willing to hear criticisms of their views or religions. And this is America, man. You are allowed to say what you want. You are allowed to criticize any idea, any belief, any religion. That is your right as an American. And I think that people take that for granted because there is an open door for you to come and speak about your religion. Whether you're a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Muslim, uh, a Zoroastrian, whatever. But you do not have the right to silence critics, to silence criticism of your views, silence criticism of your text. That right doesn't exist here. Someone does not wish to believe something, they are not forced to believe it. It does not change their status or their citizenship. You know, we're not like other countries where you have your religion on your ID. And fortunately, I've heard that if you try to convert, that can be very dangerous. And that's why a lot of people live try to come to America so they can live their religion freely. And I think that's beautiful. I think that is beautiful, and I think that we should continue to see the human of everybody regardless of their religion, right? I think that's important as well. But it wasn't always the case. And this book just explains the the hard-fought war of religious freedom. So to all the Americans out there, my fellow citizens, let's keep it. Let's keep it. Let's continue to not look at someone just based on their religion. Look at them based on their character. Continue to criticize religion for the sake of free speech. Continue to, believe your religion if that's what you want to do. Continue not to believe in a religion if that's your view. If our second president can swear on a law book instead of the Bible, then us uh, in the year of 2026, as this is recorded, should be able to live and exist without swearing allegiance to any religion, any ideology. I mean, you know, that should just be the case. And we just got, if we got to fight for that, we still got to fight for that. Unfortunately, the problem is when one religion rises to the top and you have one group who all think the same religiously, even the same sect within that religion, subsect of that religion, or whatever the case may be, right? Then you're just going to have a theocracy. And I don't want to live in a theocracy. I don't think anybody wants to live in a theocracy. Um, and theocracies are not compatible with the United States. A theocracy would make you look at somebody of another religion as an enemy, as opposed to a fellow citizen, right? Like Pennsylvania is the Commonwealth state. You know what I'm saying? Like Pennsylvania is the state in which different groups, like the Baptists and the Quakers, um, they were able to live peacefully because they put their religious ideas aside and just realized both groups, they were human. Both of them were human. They respected each other as human beings. And it wasn't always the case, man. And if you're interested, like I said, if you're interested in seeing the hard-fought war of where we're at with the religious freedom, read this book. Anyway, I appreciate y'all listening to me ramble, you know. Um, Hopefully more content will drop. I try to put stuff out there that, isn't really out there, some stuff I have that's pretty common, popular, but that's not really what I try to do. I try to not be different for the sake of being different, but I try to lay foundations, try to get to the roots. And that's why I think this is an important book because we're not looking at one religion, we're not looking at one group. We're looking at religion, the concept, and how it shaped and morphed America and what that looked like and the consequences of that. But anyway, appreciate you guys. One more time, the religious history of America, the heart of the American story from colonial times to today. Fantastic read. Appreciate y'all. Take care.